What's going on, my trainer club? Some of you guys are finishing up the shiny Bagon Day, and I just want to bring a comparison for you to weigh in. Is it worth powering up your Salamence with Outrage? So we're going to check out the top dragons in Pokemon Go. So welcome to the trainer club, guys. Here we go. Congratulations on everybody finishing up or just starting or wherever you're at with your community today. Post in the comments how many shinies did you get. I am super hyped to hear how many shinies you guys did. What are your celebrations of this event? So what we're gonna do today is we are going to break down in a little bit more detail what the best dragon attackers are and if it is worth powering up a Salamence depending on where you are in your Pokemon game. So let's check it out right now. So the top dragons that we're going to cover include a couple legendaries and a couple pseudo legendaries, which means Dragonite and Salamence as the pseudo legendaries, and then the legendaries are going to include Dialga, Palkia, Rayquaza, and then we're also going to look at a little bit of Garchomp. I know it's not out yet, we don't have access to it, but it does come up in the comparisons, and I just want you guys to know, full disclosure, what we're looking at. So starting it off, we're going to do three types of comparisons. The first comparison is going to be DPS, which is going to be sheer how much damage can we actually produce using this Pokemon stats and its moves. The second one, we're going to use TDO, which is total damage output, which is going to be how much damage can I do before I die. Both of those are okay measurements. The third one we're going to check out is going to be TDO and DPS combined, which is a more accurate. And then after that, even further, we need to take it one step further and utilize our brain and strategy of what is the moveset and what is most effective to get the most damage out of our Pokemon. So for first comparison, we're going to look at the DPS. So this is going to be damage per second for the top dragons in the game. Starting at the top, we are looking at Rayquaza with Dragon Tail and Outrage with a DPS of 18.68. Secondly, we're looking at Salamence with a DPS with Dragon Tail Outrage at 18.271. Then Salamence with Dragon Tail Draco Meteor at 17.93. Then we have Palkia with Dragon Tail Draco Meteor at 17.91. Rayquaza comes up again, but it's got an air move, so we're going to go ahead and skip that. Then we also have the Dialga, except Dialga is more powerful DPS-wise with Metal Claw and Draco Meteor. And then we're going to go into Palkia with Dragon Tail Hydro Pump at a 17.301. And then Palkia with Dragon Breath Draco Meteor at 17.29. And then we also have Dragonite with Dragon Tail Outrage, 17.229. And then we have the Garchomp with Dragon Tail Outrage, assuming those are the moves that he gets, with the 17.19. And then on the other page showing up is the Dialga with the Dragon Breath Draco Meteor at 17.09. And then we can go down the list here. If you want to check this out, go ahead and pause the video. So sitting at the top, we have Rayquaza reigning supreme. That is no surprise to us in the DPS category because we know Rayquaza is one of the top attackers in the game. Second, though, is a big surprise. Not so much since we've been hearing a little bit more about it, but since the Salamence now has Outrage, it's putting him up there, right? Sitting in second place in the DPS category. But as we know, DPS is not the only thing that we're going to look at. So the next thing we're going to look at is total damage output, also referred to as TDO. TDO is going to be over the lifespan of the Pokemon, how much damage will it be able to do? So the third comparison we're going to use is going to be the most useful and the most effective. And then also we're going to take into account the fact that we're using moves with 1 bar, 2 bar differentials and go from there. So sitting in the top spot with the most TDO is going to be the Origin Form Giratina with Dragon Tail Shadow Ball. So since he's a dragon and since he has Shadow Ball, we're going to go ahead and just cover this real quick because Giratina Origin Form TDO is sitting quite heavy at the top. And it's going to be 663 and 662. Neither of these, I'm going to point out, have a charged move of Dragon. He's not the most effective dragon. Coming in third place is going to be Garchomp with the Dragon Tail Outrage at a 630.3. Then next we're going to have Dialga with Metal Claw Draco Meteor at 599. Garchomp again with Mudshot Outrage 597. Then we have the Giratina Altered Form at the 597. Then we have Dialga with Dragon Breath Draco Meteor 589. Giratina Altered Form with both Dragon moves 584. Then we have Palkia. And then actually the other attackers don't get on there until the second page when we're looking at Dragonite with Dragon Tail Outrage at 570. Then we have Palkia coming in with Dragon Tail Hydro Pump with 563. And then we also have Dragonite with Dragon Tail Draco Meteor 563. Palkia, Dragon Breath, Draco Meteor, 563 again. and then we have Dragonite with Dragon Breath Outrage, and then actually the Rayquaza with Dragon Tail Outrage is 546 on the other page. So when we're looking at TDO, it's very effective to look at. However, what it doesn't take into account is the purpose of using an attacker. The attacker is to just do a ton of damage, in my opinion, for the most part, do as much damage but also stay alive as much as possible. So that's why we're going to look at this third category, which is going to be TDO with DPS combined to give an overall ranking that's going to categorize these dragons in the best category for them, putting the best attackers and the most tanky, everything in between, all the way on top, and then go down, because TDO really looks at, okay, how much damage can this Pokemon do while it's alive? And while we saw all these guys, a lot of these guys are more defense and stamina focused, which means that they're going to be able to stay alive a lot longer, and that means they're going to be able to do more damage because they're alive, which doesn't equal out to be a most effective attacker in the game. So that's why TDO seems really cool, but at the same time, we need to take into account the DPS, the TDO, get this equation, and then go ahead and use reasoning to say, is this the most effective Pokemon to use? So checking in the top, we have the DPS and TDO calculation. We are looking at Rayquaza sitting in at the top with Dragon Tail Outrage at 3,564. And then we have in second place, we have the Dragon Tail Draco Meteor, Palkia with a 3,350. Coming in third, we have the looky here new Salamence with Dragon Tail Outrage at 5,269. So that's super effective. And then we have Garchomp with Dragon Tail Outrage at 3,201. Dialga with Metal Claw Draco Meteor at 3,134. Salamence with Dragon Tail Draco Meteor at 3,032. And then we have the Rayquaza sitting in there, the Dialga with the Dragon Breath Draco Meteor at 2,943. And then we have Dragonite coming in with the Dragon Tail Outrage at 2,917. So going all the way from the top to the Dragonite, so the Rayquaza to the Dragonite, we have a 600 about differential in stat points. And then on the second page, we have the Palkia Dragon Breath Draco Meteor at 2,909, and then Dragonite with Dragon Tail Draco Meteor 2,770, and then on the list goes down. Like I said, if you want to check more about this out, go ahead and pause this and look at the stats here. So with that said, I would consider Rayquaza still to be reigning supreme as the top attacker, and the reason why is because of its attack stat. So he has an attack of 284, right? And Salamence has an attack of 277. We have Dragonite with 263. We have Palkia with 280. And we have Dialga with 275. So they're all pretty up there. When we're looking here in the comparisons and where they rank, we have the Rayquaza at 284, ranked 8 for attack. And then we have Salamence coming in at 277, ranked 10th in attacker. He actually has the second strongest attack stat of non-legendary Pokemon in the game right now, which is pretty powerful. And then we have Dragonite with 263, ranked 18th. And then we have 280 for Palkia, ranked 8. And then we have Dialga with 275, ranked 11. So taking all that into account, I know that's a ton of numbers and a ton of stats that we're looking at. What I would consider is, number one, do you have a Rayquaza powered up? If you have enough candy and you rated enough Rayquaza, that is the Pokemon that I would suggest investing in. What you can use is the Lucky Friends to trade to get lucky Rayquazas and power it up if you want to save on some dust. Secondly, if you don't already have dragons powered up, right, and you're coming into this community day, maybe you missed the Dratini day, maybe this is like, you know, I need some new dragon attackers, what I would suggest doing is utilizing the Salamence to power up. So it really depends on where your situation is. And I know these other Pokemon, like the Dialga and the Palkia, I say in here, are really good, but it does not have the 2-bar special. We need to take that into account, because when we're fighting, especially raid bosses, which all these legendaries pretty much are only useful for, we need to know if we're only going to be able to utilize our special 1.5 times, right? And you're like, 1.5 times, if it's got a 1 bar, where's the 0.5? Exactly, it dies. It doesn't get to use that. So to have an Outrage with the Rayquaza, super effective. Dragonite, super effective. Salamence, super effective. Outrage is the move to have, because 1.5 equals 3 specials, because you can use the 0.5. 1.5 Draco Meteors equals 1 special, wasting off the other part of the attack. So if you're already sitting with a really good powered up team of Rayquazas and Dragonites, my recommendation is you don't need to rush to power up a Salamence. It's not like it's an outstanding difference that you absolutely must have. But if you don't have any really powerful dragons, you haven't powered up a Rayquaza, that would be my number one choice. Power up the Rayquaza. It's the best dragon attacker. It is a little frail and it's double weak to ice, but it's going to do a lot of damage when we can. And then the second thing we're going to use, if we're using pseudo legendaries, we're going to use the Bagon. And now since we just did Bagon Day, we're going to have a lot of Bagon candy, right? If you listen to my tips, you did the pineapple berries, everything's going on for you. That's going to be our second thing that we're going after, because now we want to utilize a pseudo legendary, which is going to be the Salamence, putting him in the second place with the DPS and the TDO times the DPS. So he's sitting in second place, way up there, and he is definitely one to use. And then if we're looking at something where we don't want to have a lot of weaknesses, the two dragons to use are going to be Dialga and Palkia. So I plan on powering these guys up, but I'm not in a rush to do so. Both of them only have 2 weaknesses. The other cool thing about Salamence is he gets a fire move, right? So he has a fire fast move and a fire special. He's double weak to ice. Fire melts ice, right? So fire is more effective against ice Pokemon, and it's actually more effective and super effective, meaning ice is weak to fire. So if you're using PvP and you decide like I want to use a dragon, Salamence may be a good option for you, because although it's a 1-bar special, it can melt away some ice. So if we're looking at powering up a dragon without the weakness, we're going to do Dialga because he's only weak against fighting and ground. Super cool. Palkia is only weak to the fairy and the dragon, so using a dragon move, you're going to be effective against that. So that's the second thing that we can look at, because they have a very small amount of vulnerabilities and weaknesses, and their list of strengths against is huge. So they're tipped in the favor of being a way better defensive Pokemon. In my opinion, looks to be more of the PvP-esque, but the one thing you have to take into account if you're utilizing them for their dragon moves is that it's Draco Meteor. It takes a long time to get up. Something like a Flygon, I know is not going to be good in the Master League, but when you use Flygon, his specials come off so fast that it is just absolutely insane. Dragon Claw is going to be the move that you're looking for, that quick, get it up, have the special. You really want to have that churn and burn type special, as opposed to like the Draco Meteor, where you're going to have to power, get hit with a special, use your shield, and then go from there. So that's everything we have today, guys. I hope that you guys had an amazing time in Bagon Day, and if you're taking my advice, I really suggest that if you don't have anybody powered up, you have enough candy, do the Rayquaza first. Secondly, if you now already have some Rayquazas and you're looking to power up either a Dragonite or a Salamence, I would utilize this Salamence with the Outrage, giving the fact that you got a good one. So definitely power that guy up if you have the chance. Third place, we would go after Dragonite because of just their top tier attackers. And the real difference is here, you really want to focus on the Outrage move if you're using them as attackers. It's more effective, it helps you get the Pokemon out there, it helps you do more damage, it doesn't waste specials as the 1.5 scenario that we talked about, and it's going to be the best thing that you can do. So if my video has provided you value, hit that sub button, turn on that notification bell so that I can keep providing you more value. So I hope you guys had an amazing time today. I'll see you out on that next video.
You're listening to a Young AG Instruments Unit.